edition of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley speaking to you from Washington, D.C. One of the more encouraging developments in U.S. domestic politics has just occurred this afternoon, the 12th of June, 2015. The House of Representatives has rejected, in effect, the entire monstrous runaway shop, pseudo-free trade, rip-off, job-destroying bill that Obama, combined with Boehner and Mitch McConnell, had been attempting to force down the throat of the Congress. This is a combination of something called Trade Adjustment Authority, that is a pittance paid to the wretched victims of free trade sellouts when that giant sucking sound kicks in and the jobs begin to flow to the low-wage workplaces of Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Burma, whatever it is. And, of course, at the same time, the Wall Street fat cats, the finance oligarchs, make a killing. So that is ruled out for the moment. Specifically in the details, it's a combination of fast track, which they call Trade Promotion Authority. In other words, layoff promotion authority, runaway shop protection authority or enhancement. So the combination was this. The Trade Adjustment Authority, paying these pittances to the victims, was defeated by a lopsided margin, 302 to 126. Wow. It's going to be hard to turn that around. Going to take a lot of sweeteners on that. So the TAA, Trade Adjustment Authority, and again, it's a kind of it's a training program, some money for things like tuition in community colleges and some other stuff like this. And, of course, it assumes there are jobs. It says your problem is that you're not trained for jobs that exist. What if no jobs exist, which is the current case? Doesn't help you. Now, inside, one of the reasons it was so easy to vote against this Trade Adjustment Authority is it was going to be financed by gouging and looting $700 billion out of Medicare. Maybe it's a smaller sum, but it's a huge sum to be taken out of Medicare. And of course, what this allowed was the self-interest of our heroes on Capitol Hill was allowed to kick in, because every Democrat knew that if they voted for that Trade Adjustment Authority and that kind of $700 million looting. Yeah, there we go, $700 million. That they would be faced by a reactionary Republican trying to pull a fast one, attacking the Democrat, if incumbent, saying, you voted to cut Medicare. And, of course, for a Democrat, this is grave damage. Even Republicans might have thought about this, right? If you're a lot of people are confused, and they might say, I get your free trade hands off my Medicare. So the giant sucking sound for the moment is defeated. The indications of Obama included going to Capitol Hill for 1 hour this morning to give a very poorly received speech to the Democratic caucus. Some of them said they were insulted by his patronizing tone. He told them to play it straight. What the hell does that mean? Vote your district is the rule, Obama, not play it straight. And if there are any jobs, any remaining industrial jobs, they're certainly very much in danger as a result of this legislation. So Obama left pessimistic, and with good reason. So it's a defeat. It's a signal defeat. It's a really humiliating rebuff for Obama, Mitch McConnell, Boehner, the Koch brothers, and all of these other characters who wanted this to go through. So, of course, the fast track did pass, although by a very small margin, 219 to 211. Fast track has been approved by the House, but since the bill, they were voting on a bill coming from the Senate that had been divided into parts. If one part, in this case TAA, is defeated, then it's a matter of law, not of anybody's choice, that you can't turn around and say, let's just have Obama sign the Fast Track Authority 219 to 211. You can see what they did. They did the votes easily, as our heroes always do. You don't want to be told you voted against trade expansion. So a lot of them voted for Fast Track. Once they knew that the whole thing was going to go down, that vote didn't mean anything. It became kind of a procedural vote. So that is number one. And interesting, the way that this was reported, Reuters reported it more or less factually, Huffington Post. National Public Radio, when it had been defeated, said, oh, there's confusion about what will happen next. And they didn't tell you the vote, and they didn't tell you what had happened in the top of the hour after this actually went through. All right. Now, the other immediate front, from Varese, Italy to Benton Harbor, Michigan, we have the same struggle against Whirlpool. Now, this was an intervention by the Tax Wall Street Party to link up, build bridges, go for a united front, as in united front against austerity, with the Italian metalworkers unions, FIM of the CISL, FIOM of the CGIL, and UILM of the UIL. All right, those are the three metalworkers. Then, as you put those three together, you got practically the United Auto Workers of Italy. And in this case, it is building appliances. This wonderful Italian specialty. These companies like Candy, Indesit, Zoppas, and so forth. Indesit was one of the last to go down, being acquired by Whirlpool. Maytag, remember Maytag? Their factories were shut down and moved to Mexico, precisely by Whirlpool, if I'm not mistaken. So the person who came forward on this is a very big name, and not just in Italy, but all over Europe. Judge Ferdinando Imposimato. He is the honorary president of the Supreme Court of Italy. Supreme Court comes out as Corte di Cassazione. It's the top-level appeal court. And he was kind enough to sign a statement, to put out a statement where he draws this connection that we see a town like Benton Harbor, which is being treated like a plantation of despair. Is that what's going to happen now in Varese, Trento, Turin, and all of these other places? Let's give you the full list here if we can find it. Varese, Caserta, and he's from Caserta, Turin, Naples, Siena, and other Italian cities. Now, why is this important? Imposimato is, I think at this point, probably the most famous and most highly regarded of the investigative judges who set out in the 1980s to get to the bottom of the mafia and the Aldo Moro assassination. Anti-terror investigating magistrate and anti-mafia. He was a candidate for the presidency of the Italian Republic the last time around. So this is a person of presidential caliber and very, very well known. And he very active in politics. He's trying to protect the Italian schools against a very ill-considered reform by Renzi and the PD government. So this is a person of massive integrity. So he, I'll read you just the introduction. Having examined a summary of the legal action against Reverend Edward Pinkney of Benton Harbor, Michigan, USA, I feel the duty to express my gravest concern about the abuses of human rights and civil rights against this minister of the gospel. We'll give you a little bit more of this in a minute. Back in a minute on World Crisis Radio. Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. It's 12. So Imposimato, famous judge, again, honorary president of the Italian Supreme Court, is the first signatory of this call to support the Italian metal workers who are striking against Whirlpool today, June 12th. General strike in Varese, national representation there to keep their jobs, right, to prevent Whirlpool from wiping out 2,000 of the 6,000 jobs remaining in the job pool of what was Indesit and is now Whirlpool, and to support Edward Pinckney of Benton Harbor, Michigan, who is fighting to free a whirlpool company town. So he expresses his gravest concern about the abuses of civil and human rights against this minister of the gospel, who is at the same time the main leader of popular resistance against the anti-freedom regime, the liberticide regime, we might say, imposed in that area by the multinational corporation Whirlpool, which has its world headquarters precisely in Benton Harbor. Now, as a summary of the abuses in the trial, a summary of how Whirlpool attacks and degrades and ruins factories, people, cities, entire areas, zones. So the 2000 firings are absolutely unacceptable. In conclusion, we have to ask ourselves if Whirlpool is trying to drive these Italian cities down to the same level of plantations of despair, which we observe today in Benton Harbor. God forbid. I therefore call on the Italian government, says Imposimato, to intervene to protect these jobs in our country. The Italian government should call in the American ambassador in Rome and demand explanations about the Pinckney case, emphatically reminding him that the United States, as signatories, along with Italy, of the final act of the Helsinki Treaty 1975, are required to respect human rights and civil rights, with voting rights at the top of the list, and that's exactly what Pinckney was trying to do. So Ferdinando Imposimato, honorary president of the Supreme Court of Italy, and an anti-mafia investigator, formerly candidate for the presidency of the Italian Republic just a couple of months ago. So this is important. Now, the general strike today was a big success. It looks like they had 2,000 to 3,000 people in a procession, came from all over Italy. The heads of the three parallel trade union confederations, it's like having the AFL and the CIO and one other, but the CGIL, the UIL, and the CISL, they were all there. They gave rousing speeches, and it was a spirited and militant demonstration. If you want to see some pictures, you can go to go to my Twitter there. Go to Webster Tarpley Twitter feed, and you will find a link to Varese News, but to Varese News on the page that has photographs and some video, and some also of these speeches, and the again, this march, because this is a real demonstration. You can see that these guys are well versed in the art of demonstrations. Actually, if you want to see what a demonstration should look like, go and take a look at it, because they know what they're doing. It doesn't solve all your problems, but the ability to do that is a great thing. So we will be trying to get other notables in Italy in particular, and as well as in the United States, to come forward and join Judge Imposimato in what he has done. And we thank him most gratefully. And this is a person of, again, massive integrity, massive morality, and now he's fighting at the side of Reverend Pinckney. Right? Stop those layoffs and stop this company town, this wretched situation that is now existing in Benton Harbor, Michigan. All right, now, Bilderberg. We got the Bilderberg group. Actually, before we get to Bilderberg, one last thing, just in terms of the immediate stuff. We're getting to the point where the Supremes, the United States Supreme Court, is going to deliver some kind of a verdict on this King versus Burwell. And you'll remember, this is, will people be essentially put to death in the United States based on a typo or a lack of proofreading? If it even is that, it may not even be. It could be completely based on nothing. A frivolous lawsuit by reactionaries that the Supreme Court never should have accepted. So the idea is, can you get a subsidy to pay for your Obamacare private insurance policy? Can you get that from a state-sponsored exchange only, or